Hello, this is Kate, the Daily Tarot Girl, and welcome to your weekly tarot card reading. So for this week's reading, I am going to be reading with the Druidcraft Tarot. All right, so this deck, for some reason, this deck really reminds me of fall and October. There's something kind of like fall-like or Halloween-y about this deck. I don't know if it's kind of this color scheme. The backs of the cards are kind of a browny color. I don't know what it is, but this card or this deck really reminds me of fall. All right, so my intention, as always with this reading, is to get an overview of some of the energies, some of the opportunities of the week ahead. All right. So these cards are quite big, so they're like a little bit too big for my stand. So I'm just gonna move them over a little bit. Okay, so let's have a look at the first card. This is the card for the beginning of the week, Monday, Tuesday-ish. And before I dive into the reading, I just want to let you know that I am going to be teaching a series called Tarot Journal Jam Sessions. So it's 4 weeks of tarot journaling. There's 4 live tarot journaling sessions, and you also get the replays. And I am going to be walking you through my favorite process for tarot journaling. So if this is something you're interested in, I'm going to put the link below, and you can check it out and hopefully sign up. Okay, so let's look here at the 6 of Swords for the beginning of the week. So 6 of Swords is what I call a transition card. And it shows someone who's traveling. There's someone in a boat. Well, actually, there's 3 people in a boat, and they're going somewhere. So this is definitely a transitory card. And it's about getting from where you were to where you want to go, or from point A to point B, and you're kind of halfway between that point. So I think for many of us, we're going to experience certain transitions, particularly around the beginning of the week. And so one question to kind of ponder this week is, where are you now? And where are you going? Like where's point A and where's point B for you? The other thing with the 6 of Swords is it's also a card of travel. So you might find yourself traveling at the beginning of the week or at some point this week. And it could be like literal travel. Like you're taking a trip somewhere, you're doing something. It could also be more metaphorical. Like I said, kind of you're transitioning away from something towards something else. There is a sense of movement with the 6 of Swords. So this could be moving to a new location, switching jobs, anything that requires change and transition in your life in some way. I get a couple of things with this card that I want to mention. Now I'm noticing on the card, I'm noticing a bunch of things on the card, by the way. Let's start with the first thing I notice. I notice the reflection of the boat in the water. And it makes me think of the importance of reflecting on things, especially if you're leaving something behind and you're transitioning to something else. So you're leaving something behind, you're moving on to something new. It's important to reflect on the past a little bit, because if you don't reflect on the past and the things that you're releasing and letting go of and moving away from, you might repeat the same patterns, the same habits, the same mistakes, the same cycles when you move to the new place or the new thing. And so sometimes I say, like, 6 of Swords, it can sometimes be that like grass is always greener on the other side card, where you're like thinking that you just want to make a big change because you're sick of how things are. But if you don't reflect and bring a little bit of self-awareness to the changes that you're creating in your life, you're doomed to repeat the same patterns and the same habits again in the new setting. So that's the first thing I noticed. The other thing I noticed with the Six of Swords is the guy steering the boat. He is the helping figure, and we don't really see him. He's kind of a hooded figure. He's in the background. We're not really focused on him, but I'm noticing him. And to me, this is a message saying that when you decide that you want to move forward or that you want to make a change, there's always forces helping you, especially if that change and that movement is in alignment with who you are and your mission and what's important to you and your values. You are always helped in some way. And sometimes it's invisible helpers. It's people in your life that are helping you quietly in the background. It might not always be obvious. It might be spirit guides or your higher self or something like that. But there's always these forces in the background that are helping steer things a little bit. And sometimes you're aware of it and sometimes you're not. And sometimes it's just important to remind yourself that you are being guided, you are being helped, even if you don't always recognize it. Okay, let's have a look at the second card. So this is the card for the middle of the week. So like Wednesday, Thursday-ish. And we have the Queen of Wands. The Queen of Wands, she is such a fascinating figure in the tarot because she is highly creative. She's very dynamic. She's like multi-talented. I think of her as like a Renaissance woman. She has all these different talents and different passions, and she's very passionate about whatever it is that she's doing because she doesn't give her time or her attention or her emotional energy to anything unless she's really excited and passionate about it. And I like how she's holding her wand. Now she's holding her wand kind of in a weird way. She has her hand kind of in the middle of the wand almost, and it's straight up. And it just makes me think of being in alignment with something. Have you ever had that experience where you're doing something and that's just totally aligned with who you are and what's important to you, and wherever it is that wherever you are in your life, whatever you're doing is just really aligned. And it's that feeling of like being in the right place at the right time, really using your power and your gifts and your energy in a way that feels fulfilling and meaningful. That's what the Queen of Wands is all about. And she is encouraging you to get in touch with your inner fire, your inner passion. What are you passionate about? What lights you up? What are you excited about? And are you behaving in ways, are you putting your attention on the things that are actually truly important to you? Or are you putting your attention on a bunch of stupid crap that doesn't matter? Now I'm thinking of myself when I say this because I waste a lot of time like reading the news, maybe going online, doing stuff that's like, none of this is really in alignment with what's important to me. But I waste a lot of time doing it. So Queen of Wands is saying this is time to kind of reconfigure where you're putting your attention and your awareness. Queen of Wands, she's a very aware figure. She is aware of what's happening. She's aware of how she uses her energy. That is her superpower, is she's just very, very aware and very deliberate and intentional with how she directs her energy. She's not squandering her energy on stupid stuff that doesn't matter. And she's encouraging you to be like her this week. Now I'm noticing an interesting theme. So we have the wand that's straight up, and then we have this stick that's being used to steer the boat that's also not quite straight. So there's a shift here between this thing becoming straight in this picture. So I feel like there's some clarity that's going to happen this week. And I think change and putting yourself in new situations and new places forces you to get clarity. So clarity will come from shifting, like change, new environments. That is going to kind of help you get clarity on certain things this week. Okay, last card for the end of the week, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we have the Three of Cups. So Three of Cups is a fun card. This is the party time card. This is about celebrating something, being social, coming together with friends, connecting, having a good laugh. It's the lighter side of life. And it's telling you to focus on lightening up and having fun this weekend, especially if you haven't felt this way lately, especially if you have a lot of heavy stuff going on in your life, or if you're feeling heavy and bogged down by what's happening in the world. Three of Cups is saying, make sure that you take time out to have fun, to enjoy yourself, to be social, to be playful, to not take life so seriously, just for a little bit. It's not saying be this way all the time moving forward, but just this weekend, take some time to have fun, to enjoy yourself, particularly connecting with others in a light way, in a fun way. So that's what I'm getting from Three of Cups is make time for fun, make time for playfulness, make time for socializing this weekend. Okay. I think the Three of Cups is an interesting card in this deck because it's actually like color-wise, it's quite dark. It's actually like a lot of this card is in shadow, which I think is kind of interesting. Normally, the Three of Cups is more colorful and bright in other decks. And so I think that there's an interesting contrast here between light and shadow. And I think it's really highlighting the importance, and again, I already said this, but it's highlighting the importance of making time for that lightness, for laughter, for fun, for playfulness, especially if there's been a lot of heaviness and darkness in your life lately. Okay, so let's zoom out. Let's look at all of the cards. And I'm just looking for themes. I'm looking for patterns. I'm looking for ways to connect the cards. And I invite you to do the same, actually. I invite you to have a look at these cards. And sometimes there will be a theme that I see throughout the cards. Sometimes it will be one particular card that will kind of call my attention. So I'm just taking a moment to really sit with these cards. Each card has a different energy. Nothing else is really coming to me. I think I've kind of mentioned everything. It does feel like the bulk of the week is like a solo journey. You may be not necessarily alone, but kind of working on your own stuff. And when you get to the end of the week, it's important to come together with others. There's something that happens when you put yourself in social situations. You're basically sharing your energy with others. And that's important this week. Yeah. So that's an important way to kind of finish off the week. Okay, so I'm just going to sum up these cards really quickly for you. So I see this week as being about opportunities for change and opportunities to reflect on that change. And I think also like opportunities to start fresh, leave some of the old patterns behind, begin new habits and patterns, but that's impossible to do if you don't reflect and have some kind of self-awareness. Queen of Wands, this is about clarity and getting really aware of how you're using your energy and your intention, reconnecting with what you're passionate about. And then Three of Cups, bringing all of that goodness out into the world and sharing your energy with others. Taking time to connect with others, to laugh, to enjoy yourself, and to enjoy the company of others. All right. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. Feel free to share your own take on these cards or your own observation in the comments below. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I hope I see you in my tarot journaling 4-week journey. So if you want to sign up for my tarot journaling workshops, or check it out, get more info, I'm going to put the link below this video. All right, thanks for watching and have a good week.